last week on Brago 24/7. Definitely. And like his mom wanted him to be well-rounded, so she would take him to ballets and the orchestra and you know, like she just wanted him to be a well-rounded guy. And he went overseas in high school as a foreign exchange student in Germany. So, you know, when we met, you know, we had that little thing in common, even though, I mean, he was only there for like a month or so, but still like then he was in the Navy. So he lived in Japan. So even though he was born and raised basically in the same town, once he got older, he was able to travel and see the world more. So he's open-minded, and which is what I needed for my spouse. And I'm so happy I found him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jenna, what about you? Like, I don't really know that much about like your family.
Hi, I am your host, Lyanette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. Just give me my space to move. 'Cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want.
Okay, so my family, I think, is so complex right now, given my situation that I'm going through. So I'm going to take a pass and bring this back to Addie because I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about her.
Are you pleading the fifth on this one?
You know, I have a dear friend that taught me just to say pass.
Yes.
Next.
Yes.
So Addie, tell us where you are now. Are you still in the same location as you were last week?
Yeah, actually. So I've been in Italy about 6 weeks now, and I think I'm going to stay 8 to 10 weeks total. And so last week I was in, you know, the same place that I said, Lerici, which is on the northwestern coast of Italy. And I'm staying actually at an Airbnb, but it's my friend. So this is a complex story. Then I'll get into all my travels when I open this up. But basically, the way that I met this friend was when I was living in China as an expat in my 20s. So I lived there 7 years. This friend of mine, he lived there 3 years. And his mom has like a small apartment in this village that she Airbnbs out, but only in the peak months of the summer. So during the winter or spring, when it's like, for example, in the next 5 days, it's going to be raining. It's just here empty. So basically, I stay here with a friend. And the reason that I did that was because, as I mentioned before, you know, I'm kind of going through a difficult divorce at the moment.
Right.
So when you went through, it's still ongoing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so then you went to Italy. So it's because you had mentioned also that when you were going through some tough times with, you know, when you were in New York, that you went to Italy. So what is it about Italy that you love? Because I've never been. I've been on the border of Switzerland and Italy, but never entered the country. And that's like my dream. Right. Yeah.
So let me just start with saying, like, you have to come here. But for me, it has a really special place in my heart because, I mean, okay, so I think my actual first experience, like, traveling by myself was when I was 8. Like, my mom asked if I wanted to go visit my grandma in Mexico because usually in the summer we would all go together as a family. But I think that summer my mom couldn't or something, I don't remember, but she's like, it would be nice if you could go and spend some time with your grandma. And I just didn't even think about it. I was 8 and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I want to go and hang out in Mexico, you know, for a couple of months. And so that was my first like international experience where I was able to understand that, wow, I can be without my parents. Like for an 8-year-old, it's a lot, right? But it was also...
I'm blown away with my 9-year-old upstairs right now.
Well, no, as you're saying that, I'm nodding to Jenna. I'm like, we traveled. Well, I had a brother that we kind of were like, we traveled together, but we traveled alone too on a plane. But I think, I don't know how it is now, but back then it was very safe. Like the air, the flight attendants were amazing.
Yeah. And actually I went with like a friend it was kind of a strange situation if I'm being honest, but it was like those Greyhound buses. So it was like a 2-day trip on the bus.
So it wasn't even the plane; it was a bus.
Right.
Oh
So
my
anyway,
gosh!
that was my first right. So I was like, huh? Anyway, so at first it was scary, and then it was great.
Yeah.
But then when I was 16 years old, my junior year in high school, I did a 1-year study abroad program with this program called Rotary International. And I always, advise people if they're kind of very curious about the world, always ideas about traveling. Like since I was little, since I was 8, 9, 10, like when I was 10, I wanted to study French.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where from, but I decided I wanted to study French. So the way that I ended up in Italy was because this program actually asks you like a series of questions, like maybe let's say 50 or 30 questions that help them understand your personality and then can find some cultural context where they think that you would be happy. So I had put like a list between 1 and 50 countries, and exactly the top 3 were France, Italy, and Thailand.
Wow.
Like different, right? And so I was really convinced. I was like, this is a great application. I told them exactly what, all the truth and all the matter. They know I want to speak French fluently. They're going to send me to Paris or France or somewhere. And they gave me the country of Italy.
Nice.
And I was like, I didn't know. I was like, that's amazing. But they had also these kind of like, sort of assemblies. Like they would bring a lot of other exchange students from the region. Let's say we met in Michigan or something like this. And you would get to speak to students that were here from other parts of the world. And you were basically supposed to like exchange information, whatever, talk, get to know people, network. And I kept telling everyone, oh, I got Italy, but I really wanted France. And everyone was like, what? Everyone wants Italy. Don't you dare give Italy back. And we're like, what? What? I didn't understand. I'm just like, I don't want to learn Italian. I want to learn French. Anyway, so I ended up Italy. Yeah, that was my, like, I was like, what's the point? Who wants to know Italian? It's like, such a small language. But anyway, I ended up going, and it was 11 months exactly. The first, I would say 5 to 6 months, I was really, really, I can say now, I don't know if it's clinically depressed, but I was in a very low mood. I didn't speak the language. I didn't have friends. The food was completely different. Within that 11 months when I was abroad, I actually lost 50 pounds.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, but I was also kind of like always very fluffy, you can say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I always had always had a little bit of extra weight. So for me to lose 50 pounds was like when I came back home, I was unrecognizable.
Wow.
I bet.
So the second part of that year, I had learned Italian. I did make friends. I pushed my limits in all the areas. Like I'm not a very social person, so to speak. Like I really like to sit at home and read and watch my shows. And, I like to connect with people on interest. So like, it was like a completely different experience. I challenged myself a lot. And I literally felt like a new person because I think before that point, also, I wasn't very feminine, you can say,
Mm-hmm.
or like I didn't have an aesthetic. I was just kind of like pudgy. I was just like, I don't really care about what I'm wearing because I'm just at the library. With like, what does it matter? To like seeing Italian women, Italian girls, like what I look like at 16 and what Italian girls look like at 16. We're like worlds apart.
Yeah.
So it just inspired me. I'm like, wow, like they're so adult. They drink coffee at breaks. They smoke cigarettes. Like it was a shocking thing to the system. Like it was really, yeah. But even I joined like a traveling soccer team as well because I played soccer back home. So they were like, just try to continue the things that you like, but in that country and try to integrate yourself so you can meet people and speak the language, blah, blah, blah. So I joined the soccer team. And, after the first practice, I was just going to leave. And everyone just stripped naked, like completely naked, and started like, kind of teasing each other and like really a lot of camaraderie and like started talking very openly and fluidly about sex. And I'm like, what the hell? I was like a little bit mortified. I'm like, where am I? This is crazy. I've never heard girls like this age speak so casually about sex.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it was like, it was a year in which I grew so much that when I went back home, I had this like really big feeling of like not belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was just like most people didn't recognize me, not even my family. And it was a good positive change. But like after that year, I knew I wanted to leave my hometown, Aurora, which is a Chicago suburb that's like, okay, Chicago is maybe like 3 to 5 million people, and Aurora is like 250,000. So it's not huge, but it's big enough. And so I knew that I wanted to live outside of Aurora. I knew that I wanted to, explore further.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to college. In college, I wanted to study abroad. So I did this program called IES, International Exchange for Students. And something like this, IES in Paris. And I did, that was 9 months. That was my junior year in college. And then after college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So, okay, just to put it very plainly, I had like maybe a chunk of student loans. I probably would do well with getting a job and getting more stable, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I had studied in my undergrad international relations, and I couldn't really imagine myself in anything. So I was like, okay, I want to go to grad school. And a friend of mine that I met in Italian class in college told me about a program that she was going to do the following year because she was a year older than me. And she's like, I really think that you should consider this program because they do 1 year in the UK and then 1 year in either China or LA, like University of Southern California, USC. So I decided to do 1 year in the UK, 1 year in China, and then that's how I ended up in China for 7 years working after graduate.
And how old were you at this point?
So when I ended up in China, I was 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many life experiences.
Yeah.
By the time you're 25.
So I was in London 2011 to 2012, and then 2012 to 2019, I was in China. But I guess what I'm starting to realize is like just to be more open and receiving of the good and the bad, because the bad is a part of life too.
Yes.
It's how you receive it that's going to impact your health, your mind, your ability to like bounce back from it. So, I just kind of take it like a grain of salt, but China really changed me in so many ways, some good, some bad, but through and through, I think for me, traveling has always been both like an escape of sorts as well as a coming home. Because it's like you're out there in the wilderness of the unknown. Like in China, just imagine, it's like you don't get the pleasantries that you get. Like coming back to the U.S., I had reverse culture shock. And when people were all like nice to me, I was like distrustful.
Yeah. You're like, what's your end game? Why be so nice? Yeah, that's so true.
Coming back?
Random. Yeah, coming back. And also just like small things you don't even think about, right? So in China, everything is censored, including the internet. So you have to get a VPN if you want to connect to any kind of outside channels like Facebook, Instagram, Google, Gmail. Like they just don't have it. And so, and I think now, like when I left in 2019, it was getting worse in 2018, where like it was just half of the VPNs weren't working. Like the internet crackdown was really big. They just didn't want, like they were closing China off more, I would say, like digitally. If you could say. And that was strange because
how do they justify that? What do they say to the people to justify?
They don't.
Oh, they don't. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's just like maybe they'll say something later if enough people are grumbling or saying, "We noticed this is happening. Tell us what's going on." Then they might be like, "We think we should address this thing." Like it's kind of a strange thing, but yeah, I don't know because when you are in China as well, like I've come across maybe some friends and I, send them a message like, "Hey, how's China?" They're like, "It's great." And then I just kind of remember what it's like in China. Like you always say it's great.
Does it feel like you're just like in a bubble, your own little Chinese bubble?
Like, so you're in the bubble of China, but in order to also, I would say sometimes survive, but also thrive in China, you also have to live in your own bubble.
Okay.
Like city, just imagine Shanghai is 28 million people.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big difference.
Wow, yeah.
That's a conservative number. Not even into account a lot of expats that go there.
That's fascinating. You hear that, but it's cool to hear it from someone who's actually lived there.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the dating. It's a mess. Like, I wasn't gonna, so I left because I'm like, I'm not going to find what I want out of life here. Like, it's just not going to happen for me.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good experience. You got to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I definitely want to go back with my camera to take a lot of pictures. Now that I've sort of taken time and space away from it, I can see it through different eyes.
Yeah.
But no, I know it's like one of those places. Like, it's very hard to. It's just a very big challenge. So it's mixed feelings, but always with a lot of gratitude. I mean, I grew so much in a way that I probably couldn't have had I stayed in the U.S. and started my career in the U.S.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I completely believe that.
Yeah. Plus, I learned Chinese. That was crazy.
That is crazy.
So you can speak Italian, Chinese, Spanish, English,
and
French.
Wow.
Beautiful. Yeah. Girl, I'm obsessed with languages, but the horrible thing is, like, once you're removed from the culture, it's like you forget it. And I'm hoping that if I ever return one day, that it'll just come flooding back to me. Because at one point, I spoke English, Spanish, German, French. I was obsessed with French, obsessed with it, like you. But in Switzerland, you started off. I was like 11 or 12 learning French, and I loved it so much that I took it in high school. I took it in college, but then when you're removed from it, so now I'm like, I lost it. It makes me so sad.
I would suggest watching movies or shows.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of an introvert. I just recently realized, and I'm like, I still want to learn the language. I do want to communicate, but I also get really, really nervous.
Yep.
I don't want to mess it up. But I'm no jumping in English.
Mm-hmm.
So I watch tons of movies and listen to music and try to get some kind of familiarity with the language so that I feel comfortable if I get put into the situation.
Yeah. No, as outgoing as I appear to be, I am very introverted, and I remember for the first year when I first moved to Switzerland, I could understand at one point, like after a year, I could understand everything, but I did not want to talk because I'm like, if I just make a mistake. And then once I started talking, kids would tease you like, oh, that's the way you say it's funny. But I realized it was all in love and it wasn't malicious. And, once you open up, they just think it's so cool that you're even attempting and trying to speak their language.
Right. And that's what I find with Italian, French. Like, they're just grateful that you actually trying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I had a very different experience living when I was in Paris. I felt that they were so rude and kind of like mean and bland, just closed. But then when I went back now as an adult, and I think as a woman traveling alone, and maybe it's my age, I'm more mature. Like, you can't really get away with being rude to like a woman. Mm-hmm. But I just went to visit Paris just for 10 days, and I had such a good experience with everyone. Like, just really like kind strangers. Like, I went into I wear glasses and I wear contacts, and I was running out of contacts, and I'm like, oh no, it's raining now in Paris, and it's like my glasses they get foggy, so I'm like, oh God. So I'm like walking into this lens place, and I have my my glasses on all foggy, and I take them off and I ask for contacts, but they don't have my my prescription. But then he just gives like 3 free boxes to try them all out.
So they are nicer if you go back, because we went. They are nicer. Yeah. When I was a teenager, we went as a family. We were still living in Switzerland, so we took a trip over to Paris, and rude. We got the same thing. Very rude. So
I don't know. It's strange because I guess maybe there was some rude moments.
Or do we think it's rude because we, as Americans, we just are overly cheery and over there they're not they're not pretending, they're not pretending, they're just being themselves.
Let me just tell you a hilarious story. It shocked me. I was like, whoa. So I walk into this cafe and I get in line and I'm like, can I get a coffee? And there's a man like right in front of me, and right to the right of him is a woman. So there's a man and a woman. Mm-hmm. And the woman's beautiful young girl, maybe 21, and like just beautiful, like picture perfect, I'd say. So I'm just kind of looking at her because she's just standing there smiling, and then she's like, no, it's closed. I was like, oh, okay. And there was like kind of a jar of lollipops.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna grab two, one for me and my friend who was waiting. And she grabbed the jar and put her hand on top. She's like, no, that's not for you. That's for customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, but I can't have two. I'm trying to be your customer, but you're saying that it's closed, so I can't buy coffee. She's like, no, you can come tomorrow, and then you can have as many as you like.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I know. I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
Yeah.
okay. I just kind of like laughed.
It's
stunned.
just so different. Like, here, like if you're like, just opening a magazine and just reading it as you're, maybe waiting in line at the grocery store or whatever. Like, yeah, you can't. In Switzerland in the 90s, you couldn't do that. Like, I remember just kind of skimming through it. Like, no, you need to buy that. You can't just try to read it while you're standing. I'm like, I'm not going to read the whole magazine while I'm standing here. But it's like you buy right now. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, oh.
Too funny.
To see like that small little things. I'm like, you understand a lot about a culture. You understand a lot about a people. A lot of the hopes, the promises, the things they do amazingly well. The food, and also the cultural norms and not norms. Like in Italy, I went out on just like a friend's date. So it was like a bunch of people together. And I wanted to get some like Parmesan cheese on top of my risotto, which was fish based. And they were all like, no, you cannot. You don't do this. I'm like, but I want some. They're like, no, you cannot. You're going to ruin your dish. I was like,
do not mess with an Italian person's food. Do not.
Food rules, both Italy and France are that way. So just like the things that you just kind of have to see to believe and then experience and then understand and appreciate eventually.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing.
One of my tours through Italy that I learned real quick is you only buy the house wine because it's the best wine.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to buy the expensive wine there because you're where it is made and produced. And the house wine, they generally go and pride themselves on that wine and pick it. And the house wine is delicious. Yeah. So it's funny, but yeah, Italians. I grew up with Italians in upstate New York. You do not mess with their food. You must eat it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're kind of, I don't. It's not negative what we're sharing, but I feel like with being there, like once you earn their trust, they're like the best. Just not just Italian, like just Europeans in general. They may come across as very like stoic and just like Germans don't smile. They're known for not smiling. But once you break through those walls, like they're the nicest people. They just welcomed us with open arms. And well, they loved our family because we're so strange looking because we're all different colors. So they're like, we need to find out how these people came together and they call each other brothers and sisters. So
not only that. So let's get to one of the things we wanted to talk about, which was money and how one gets to do this. And it's everyone's looking at your page, including me, and going, "Oh my God, I'm in love. I want to be there. I want to be her."
Yes.
How do you do this, my love?
To hear more amazing female warrior stories, hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. We would truly appreciate the love. Now back to our show.
Okay, so I'm going through a divorce, and so when I was in my marriage, I left my job that I had in Shanghai for those 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say a good chunk, but I had a small chunk of savings. And when I got with my husband, basically he took care of everything, which is, I think, part of why the marriage was disintegrated. Like it was too much,
Yeah.
And for both, and so when I left him, I really had no idea. I was bouncing around Airbnbs in New York City, but I was doing a little bit of real estate. So I was getting some random, small kind of closings there. It wasn't like a big amount, but it was rentals. And then, it's like I'm not a person who lives to work. There was a time where that was the case, like when I was in China, and then something happened that made me realize that's not really the lifestyle I want or need. And so, I wouldn't say that I live to work, meaning I made enough money savings wise that I knew that I could live somewhere cheap. So before Italy, I think the most expensive thing was the flight. But before Italy, I was in Argentina and Uruguay as well. And so just to give you an idea of how I got into Uruguay, it was ridiculous. It was so cheap. It was like a $400 flight, which ended up being something like $650. Wow. Because what I did was I went on like skyscanner.com and I looked for the most affordable direct flights. And what I got were you had to check out of every flight and check into every flight. And what they don't tell you, and what you don't know unless you go there, is that everything in South America, especially flying, takes so long.
Yeah.
It's very slow, and particularly in Uruguay and also in Argentina was very, very slow. And also at this time, still, I think actually even when I was all this time that I've been traveling, I have to take COVID tests as well.
Oh my goodness,
so you have to like it's been a real hassle. Of course, my Instagram is so curated that you're only going to see the beautiful parts. To give you a clear picture, like my time in Buenos Aires and Argentina, and my time in in Uruguay, I spent really like almost nothing.
But what is almost nothing? Like, let's give a ballpark here, because we're like, okay, well, I just picked up this $10,000 ring, and someone's like, I picked up this $100 ring, and another person's like, I was at the dollar store and picked up this ring.
Right. So I would say that New York to the entire 1 month that I was in both Uruguay and Argentina was with flights included, and I had to go New York, Italy. That's how I ended up in Italy. I would say everything included, so both flights on both ends, like 6,000 total.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like, I'm sitting here going, you're living my dream, Addie.
I know.
I mean, you understand,
my dream too, Addie. That's why we're asking the questions. It's like, can we do this?
So my dream was not to be the stay-at-home mom, and certainly not to be a single stay-at-home mom. My dream was to travel the world. Yes. Like, no joke. I didn't want children. I was not interested. I love...
Both, but I think you have to brace yourself for the unexpected and just understand, like, behind the scenes, it could be a train wreck sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I ended up missing my flight in Peru. I rented like a room for $15 just so I could sleep about 6 hours before my other flight, because I was sleeping before that, like on the floor of the airport. I just didn't know what to do,
So there's not a lot of glamorous things that go with it, but
how awesome it is, because you just focusing on yourself. Like, do this before you have kids, because man, it's so much easier if it's just you that you have to worry about.
That I only have to manage my own expectations. That's true, right? And so that's one of the things I really suggest, that if you haven't, that you take at least one trip by yourself. I just took a road trip this past weekend to Umbria, this region that's like so green and so full of birds, and people hike there. People, do all these kind of, maybe the things that you could find in the Southwest, like just a lot of nature, a lot of trees, a lot of forests. They do hunting, a lot of things. So I went there just by myself, and this was the second time that I had rented a car, gotten in the car, went somewhere just with myself, by myself, to do something, like go to dinner with myself. And I don't even remember the first time, but this time I was like, it felt easier and it was funner. And I got to, when I was driving around going from town to town, I ran out of time. I wanted to see like so many towns in one day. It was impossible. But in my mind, I thought I could do it. So when I was doing that, I could take as much time as I wanted. I could pull over to the side of the road, record. I could there was no one like saying anything to me like, hey, we got to go. Hey, like I could just focus solely on myself.
I know.
Sounds marvelous.
But you know what's funny? I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be having a trip alone. And I've had my therapist on my ass for about 2 years to travel alone. Yeah. Every time it comes down to it,
something happens.
Every time it comes down to it, I'm like, hey.
Especially with COVID these last 2 years. It's crazy.
Yes, but I'm supposed to do this because I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm not one of those people that I will go out to dinner by myself. I will do things like that, but it's not necessary for me to prove something.
Yeah.
I like company. And so every time I will book a trip, like I even said, I'm going to remember the furniture to Ohio trip. Well, I have my best friend that lives here that I never see. And when I say best friend, I'm talking from 18. Like we have I won't even say how many years under our belt, but a hell of a lot. And so I was like, oh, I'll get Kimberly to go with me and we'll catch up. We'll be on the road, blah, blah, blah. And then my therapist was like, Jenna, you need to do things alone.
Yeah.
So then I was like, and Kim backed out. Like, she was like, I can't. And I was like, okay, so I'm meant to do this alone. Got a little closer. And then Lindsay's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to go.
And you're like, all right, let's
to
go.
pick up this furniture in freaking Ohio. Don't ask, but it's what I'm doing. Okay. Well, next thing I know, I got Lindsay coming with me. I'm like, hey, you ever been to Nashville? You've never been here? You've never been there? Well, let's go over there. It was the most wonderful trip for a friend of mine and I, and so spontaneous. And I wouldn't have done that if I was alone. I would have gotten the furniture and come right back and had that alone time in the car to let my mind wander. And I don't think it would have been as helpful to have a friend around me. So this alone travel you speak of.
I know.
Can I come do it with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. No, we're not kidding.
Like,
I think we should, the three of us should.
I think so.
Have it like go somewhere and just document all of it, our shenanigans.
And where would you go?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. You pick. So and
I
we
have
follow.
an opportunity to go to Africa right now.
Yeah.
A really dear friend of mine is there, and I have 3 weeks off in the summer, per my agreement. And was just saying this morning, I want to take those 3 weeks together over the summer, go see my friend in Africa and invite Addie if she wants to come along, or meet up with you afterwards someplace. But I want to do a trip. I want to come experience this with somebody. You make me feel confident. Mm-hmm. You inspire me. I am like, girl, I'm all on what you're doing. I love it.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
Yeah, you already saw me with my friend at that bar that we met.
Yeah.
It was like we were just vibing. We were just having fun.
You're my
like,
girl. I mean, I only met her for how many hours? Maybe an hour or so. And I'm like, you're my girl.
I feel like you can get your personality through just your pictures and your videos, and there's a warmth. There's a warmth that comes from you. So
that's really nice to hear. Thank you.
I'm just not a person that follows people just for because everyone's following them and look at their, their fabulous life. That's just not me. I don't really care what other people are doing because I know behind the scenes there could be shit, going on. So I don't look at somebody's life and think, oh, that's so perfect, and envy it. But with you, there's a warmth, and I'm like, that's just so beautiful, and I'm happy that you're able to do that without even knowing you. So it sounds like doing this is like therapeutic and healing for you, especially with what you're going through with, going through a divorce. Has it been?
Yeah, 100%. Because I would say that I'm very, so I took that personality test, that Myers-Briggs test. Have you guys ever taken it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I surely have.
Okay.
I did a show on that. I did a podcast on that. It's so fascinating. I love personality tests.
Yeah, so mine is INFJ. So what I realized is that like I'm the kind of person who needs a lot of alone time. I'm like, not everyone is like that. Actually, some people get re-energized with people.
That's
right?
Jenna.
That would be like,
that's why Jenna can't travel alone. Her and I have this conversation. I'm more like you, Addie. I need alone time to re-energize. Jenna needs lots of people around her too.
I don't need lots of people.
You
just
need
one.
Just one. Somebody. Yes.
Yeah, but that's because it's your personality, right? Like. So it's you. So for me, it's good to be alone because also I'm slow. Like I like to do slow traveling. Have you heard of this?
No.
Basically, that's what I'm doing. So how I managed to stay 2 months here in Italy was that this Airbnb was going to be empty during the non-peak season anyway. And so when I mentioned to my friend, hey, like I'm going through this kind of difficult moment. This is when I was like in Argentina. He said, why don't you come and stay at my mom's place? You can just, chill here until maybe Easter, because Easter is when it starts to pick up, and then it's like kind of worth it for you to, leave. I'm like, great, 2 months is perfect. So that's how I ended up staying here for so long, because nonetheless, right now it's getting a little bit more expensive. So it gets expensive in the coast of Italy and the coast of France, like any kind of beach places. I would say between the end of April and the middle of October. So the first middle of October, that's like the peak season. It's super expensive. Like prices that you can get now, you're going to pay at that time 2, 3, 4 times over.
Wow.
So you can get a lot of things, but to be clear about where I'm at, I'm like in a small village of 10,000. I have to like park my car a little bit far. There's church bells, which they don't bother me, but I guess I was reading the reviews and it was like, the church bells didn't let us sleep. I was like, I don't notice a thing.
The things that bother people is hilarious to me. That would be soothing to me.
Well, and more people post negative than positive.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's just like, so it's for me, it's really amazing and it's kind of secluded and I get the best sunsets and it's just really what I needed to sort of disconnect, decompress, and a little slowly so I can hear myself think so I'm not like rushing to make decisions or even emotional decisions. And so, I mean, this time that I've taken off has been so therapeutic. It has been healing. I'm helping my mom, my friend's mom, she has this German Shepherd and he's being trained. So I'm helping her train him. So we go to the trainer. I take him for a walk. You know, this is like, I don't know how many pounds. I would say easily 150, 200 pounds.
Oh, he's a big boy.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him on Instagram. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I'm like helping her do this and that. And so like, it's kind of just me connecting with, you know, a person all the way across the globe that I had met when I was in China. And it's not even him, it's his mom. It's just like, it's a beautiful thing. And it's also, reestablishing my hope in people, which I think is really hard at the moment.
That's so beautiful that you say that.
Two biggest news I think that we had was the war in Ukraine and Will Smith smacking somebody.
Yeah. Girl, everybody here in the U.S. is talking about it. It's all over the place. Everybody.
Like, I didn't even know I didn't watch the show.
Well, I don't either, but I happened to be on my phone late that night and I was like, oh my gosh, is this real? Yeah.
So my question to you is,
real?
It is real. It is real.
It is real, people. It's real.
Oh my goodness. I have a question for you. So going through the divorce and traveling and doing all this self-discovery and being so brave to be alone and doing this in towns you don't know, like it's just remarkable to me personally that you have the courage to do all this. But are you at this point in time, and I'm not meeting this on a money level point, but are you able to just solely focus on your healing right now? Or are you right now going, oh gosh, what am I going to have to do in the future? How am I going to create some income?
Exactly. No. So basically I'm taking this time, you know, I feel very lucky to have this time. I'm creating my online gallery for my print.
Okay.
And so I'm doing a series of a lot of my travels, but I'm doing like, I need to really be selective because I have maybe a good 100,000 photos to sift through. I've probably sifted through maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20,000 of serious photos. You know, there's a lot of deliberate practice, but just sort of going through that and trying to understand, like, there was a point where I was really sensitive about my photography and I couldn't delete anything. Like, I just couldn't. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, this is garbage, out. And even if there's like 6, they all look great, but there's one frame that's exactly what I want to be portrayed, I will delete all the other 5 frames. So like now I'm at a place where I'm just taking the emotion out of it and I'm like looking for the skill and I'm like, okay, let's test the market. Let's see what these can go for, you know, beautiful, beautiful images. And so, talking about the unexpected, actually both my drone and my camera like are getting fixed at the moment. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing a lot with my phone now, a lot of videos.
Yeah.
So I'm not just relaxing, but I am taking the time to set a strong foundation for having, I wouldn't say residual income because photography is definitely not like a passive activity, but just to have maybe to test the market a little bit, see what people like, what people don't like, and just see where that goes.
Yeah.
That sounds so exciting. So you said that you're going to be in Italy for another few weeks. And where is your next adventure taking you?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I think I'm in Chicago for about 2 weeks, end of April. And then May, June, July, I'm not sure, but I think I might be in New York City for the summer. I'm not sure. That depends on if a few projects come through, I'll have enough money for rent in New York City. If not, then I'll just probably stay in Chicago with my family until until I do find something to work in. I am applying for work as well, but I want to keep a remote job.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't born and raised in Chicago, but I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities.
Me too.
I love it, except in the winter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with that.
The winter, I'm like, it's a great city, but not in the winter.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would consider a warmer climate.
Yeah, you should come down south and visit us.
Right. I was thinking Florida, but I've seen all the things on the news. I'm like, I don't know about Florida anymore.
Well, I'm sure she's going to be on again and share some more. But I think next time we should get into a little bit once we get a little past our divorces. I don't know how close you are. I'm very close.
Like for me, it always feels as close that I'm like, I said this about 4 months ago.
You know, I feel the same exact way. I was like, oh yes, we're going to go into summer, divorced, and here we are. It's not. Yeah. It's after the first of the year.
So you would want to talk about more.
I would want to talk more about, what has gotten us to this place of knowing that we had to make this change where it was no longer possible maybe. And, some other things that we can help other women who are in this position have enough strength and courage to do what she is doing right now. I mean, you're an exception to the rule to most people. Most people go along with the conform and do it.
Yeah. Because my family was not on board at all. Now that I'm like, oh, I'm doing this work. Oh, I'm doing that work. Now that she sees that I'm calm and I'm getting some, just small projects here and there, but still I'm working somehow. She's like, oh, now I have to believe that she's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like something I didn't expect. And that's just empowering me. My bank account, not so much.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, at this point, my bank account, not so much either. I'm blown away by mine, but I keep thinking the price of peace, the price of freedom. I will give that up for those two after being in the situation I was in. And I think you agree completely.
Yeah.
It doesn't buy happiness. It gives you opportunities, but I can create those on my own.
Right. And probably with less hassle.
Yes. Hell yes.
Fortunate for us, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it'll be great to have that conversation and see like where you guys are, where your paths are.
Yeah.
Once it's all done and recreating yourselves. Cause I'm sure that's like a time to recreate and change paths and change courses.
I think that's a constant thing though for me. I've been thinking about that lately, coming through with, do I go back to my maiden name? Do I keep his name for the kid's sake? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I
no, that's a hard thing. I'm happy I didn't change my name.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I told him that that at our 5-year anniversary that we were going to renew our vows, and I would change my last name because I'm like, I feel he needs to be like, I need to hold off on this, and it was during COVID as well. So the paperwork situation was so convoluted. I'm like, I'm not going to do this right now. This is going to just really put stress on.
That should be something. That should be part of the marital vows. Like you can keep your own name until you have earned it after 5 years.
Oh my God! Then
seriously,
and only then
that'll keep them on their toes another 5 years. Please.
It's an hassle. You have to go and do all these things, and they don't have to deal with that. They don't change their name.
No. Don't even get me going on what the men don't deal with that the women do, because I had an epiphany.
That's a whole other show.
It's a whole nother show, but I had an epiphany the other day that I really feel like the women have stepped up, and what work have the men done? What kind of evolving have they done? I'm not seeing a whole lot on their end, and I'm going to start pointing that shit out. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh, that's a New Yorker in me coming out. Let me get back to my Southern new roots.
Well, Addie, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. And I would love to have you back on in the future and continue the conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Look forward to talking again.
We will end the show with this. Autonomy, the crazy idea that you get to choose what you want with your life. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago 24_7 and on Facebook at Virago 24/7. and just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.
Just give me my space.